was getting a car and got in the car, went to the hospital, got out. They checked me. At that moment, I might have been 2 centimeters dilated. And when you hear that, you're 2 centimeters dilated, it is the weirdest. It's weird in that it's weird in that you feel sort of kind of deflated, because you're having all this pain and you're telling yourself, oh my God, I'm ready to go. And then you're only 2 centimeters dilated and you're like, oh great, they're gonna send me home. Well, guess what they did? They sent me home. And at that point, it was really funny. It was July 4th. And I was really kind of happy because I was thinking I was gonna have a 4th of July baby, but that didn't happen. They sent me home. And I was like, you're gonna send me home in all this pain? And they were like, well, you know what? I think really, in all honesty, this is just Braxton Hicks contractions you're having. I was like, this cannot be. Lo and behold, after walking for a while, the pain went away. I was like, okay, this is amazing. I'm thinking, if this is just Braxton Hicks, what is actual labor going to feel like? This is ridiculous. And of course, every single child you have is completely different from the last. So I was going off of what my last pregnancy and my last labor and delivery story was about. And sort of kind of trying to pull from that. But this was completely and totally different, so it threw me for a loop. Well, I went home, and days passed, and a week passed, and I was like, you know what? I still have another week, because you got to understand too, she wasn't due until like the 21st of July. Well, come the 13th, I'll take that back, the 12th, I went into what I thought was labor again. And lo and behold, it actually was. So I went into I went to the hospital after, sort of kind of fooling around at the house for a while, trying to make sure it was actually labor, because it's nothing like going into the hospital and then they say, nope, not it, and you're going back home. So I made for sure that these were contractions that were going to stay. I walked around to see if I could get rid of them. No. And that's the kind of telltale sign that you're having Braxton Hicks, is when you can change position or you can walk around and then the pain goes away. Well, that wasn't happening with this. And so I was like, nope, I'm in labor. So I went back in, still 2 centimeters dilated, but I was about 75% effaced at the time. And so called my family and let them know where I was, and everyone came up, and that's another thing too. It's like when you tell people, yes, I'm in labor, and they were planning on being there, they all just sort of kind of rush there, because I think when you tell someone you're in labor, they automatically think, oh my gosh, she's pushing, oh my God, the baby's gonna be here in any minute. Well, anyway, no. So they all sat around for a while and nothing really was happening. I did get to 100% effaced, but I wasn't changing in terms of dilation. And so everybody's like, well, go home. We're going to go home. Call us, when you're about to have the baby. So they all went home. And I bet you it wasn't no more than an hour and a half later, I had to call everybody back up to the hospital who wanted to come, because I had went from 2 centimeters to a matter of 7 centimeters in an hour and a half. So they all came back up, and and it was really funny because my mother-in-law was sitting on the side of the bed, and she was there for the support, but you could tell that she was a little bit nervous, and I don't know if it was because it was her first time seeing a birth outside of her own. But she was fairly nervous, and she was looking straight ahead. And I actually came out of myself and I said to her, are you okay? Which was just really funny. I thought that was an interesting thing. Everybody else laughed at it because, here's a person who's, in a considerable amount of pain asking someone else if they were okay. But my water my water broke on its own while I was in the bed, and there was meconium. And so what was really, really nice about, just the staff was that they came And the lady said, you know, we found meconium. Basically, the baby had a bowel movement within me. And when you break, or when the water breaks, if they break it or it breaks on its own, you can see it when it comes out. And so they, you know, they go into a whole nother frame of mind. And they said, we're going to have people from the NICU come down, and we're going to have your doctors, and there's going to be other nurses in here. And they explained the entire situation to me and made me feel really, really comfortable about what was going to happen. So I didn't have to freak out because I knew what to expect, which was great. She said, you know, the baby's not going to cry. We're not going to allow the baby to cry because we don't want the baby to suck in the meconium into their lungs. So we're not going to let her cry. And so she's like, don't, you know, freak out if you don't hear your baby cry. Because, you know, that's the thing that the mother, you know, everybody else is listening for is the baby to cry, you know. That's a reassuring sound when the baby is born. And so, you know, if no one told me that, you know, we're not going to let your baby cry and the baby is born and I'm sitting here freaking out because no one communicated that to me, of course I'm going to be, you know, just with my personality up in arms. So that's what happened. The baby was born. Leah was born, and she was not allowed to cry. And I was completely okay with that. Of course, I was worried in terms of just there being a complication, but I was also assured that she was going to be okay. And they came in, they took the baby off to the side, and they put a nozzle over her face, lack for a better word, I'm not quite sure what they're called, and you can see the pump, and they're just making sure that her lungs were clear. And after everything was said and done, I'd say maybe about 15 minutes of working on her or so, they thumped her foot and she cried. And so, and I was really, really happy to know that, you know, the nursing staff, the doctors were, you know, well equipped in order to handle that crisis. So there you have it. This is the story of Leah. Bringing her home, I was actually allowed to bring her home with me. She didn't have to stay in the hospital for any given amount of time because of meconium. So that was great. She was a happy baby. In terms of me feeling any sort of baby blues or postpartum depression, there wasn't really any, no more than just the usual getting your hormones levels back to where they normally were. So again, just a little weepy, but outside of that, I was fine. So yeah, that's the story of Leah's birth, and I hope it's helped. Thank you.